At the time, we may not understand why it happened or what's going on with it. They destroyed it not long after we left. Got it all tilled up once. We've got a storm coming in. That's so buried up in that mud I can't even get down. We're trying not to overdo it this year, but I am doing a little more than I initially planned on. For just those few moments we were able to talk, all the stresses and everything of everything that's been going on, it just completely went away, even if it was just for a little bit. And a lot of times people just contribute this to chance and just that's the way things happen, but maybe it's something more. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. As y'all can tell, we are back at the farm, and I can tell you we are blessed and excited to be here. Baltimore is okay, but there's no place like home. It's kind of funny, like, I know, like, sometimes when you're around, we're trying to do stuff outside, the animals are noisy, and we're like, man, I wish they would just be quiet for a little bit. Once you're away from that for a while, it doesn't seem to bother you near as much when you get back. We heard so many horns honking, sirens, construction work. I'm just ready to be back home in the peace and quiet of all of our farm animals, and that's where we're at. But before we get into that, I just want to let you know, Kimberly's been having a pretty rough time with this recovery. She said it's far worse than her original Chiari surgery a couple of years ago. And I'm not sure if it's just because the hardware in there or the fact that they had to go in twice, because he did say having to go in the second time he had to go through some muscle that he normally wouldn't have to on an initial surgery. So that could be it, but I'm hoping, and we're both hoping and praying that things are going to go well and she's going to recover well, and hopefully this will fix her problem, and if not, we at least have an idea for the next solution. But first, we really want to say thank you to all of y'all. Y'all have been very supportive. We appreciate the prayers, thoughts, comments. Y'all have just been really great, and we're really thankful for that, and we don't really know what we'd do without y'all, so we're so happy to have y'all, and thank y'all so much for being so encouraging, because it's been a real huge help. But I also have to do a little bit of bragging on my mom and the girls. When we left, I know anytime we leave the farm is a huge responsibility for anybody, because it's a lot to take care of all these animals and stuff. And we've got stuff going on in the greenhouse because there's plants that probably need to be planted, but I ran out of time and it rained. I just couldn't get them in the garden. And then I had just planted this garden, and since we didn't tarp it, weeds were kind of starting to be bad in it when we left. And I told my mom, I was like, don't worry about this garden while we're gone, because I know you've got enough on your plate. My dad actually had to have a procedure toward the last part while we were gone, and so he's been down. So she's been having to take care of their farm, and she was taking care of ours too, along with the girls. And I told her, don't worry about this garden, but check this out. I came back expecting this thing to be grown completely up, and it is not. They worked really hard to keep the weeds out. My mom said that she worked on it the first time, but then every day the girls would come out here and work on it little by little each day when they finished their chores. And they have kept it really nice, and it's looking pretty good. I can tell, Blizzard out of there. I can tell that this area up here is not near as fertile as the one below, but I'm thinking after we grow this season, I may tarp all of this, let it sit a season like we did the one below, or several weeks, and maybe that will help turn this into good dirt like that. And if not, we're just going to continually add amendments to it and get it built up where it's going to be really well. Because my goal would be to get this spot up here where this is our main garden, and hopefully get it like in a no-till type thing where we get all the weeds out, get the rows made, and we just build compost on top instead of having to till in and grow it that way. And hopefully have a beautiful garden that will take care of all the food and stuff for our family. We're trying not to overdo it this year, but I am doing a little more than I initially planned on. But we've got a head start here. I'm going to be planting some stuff down there. My next goal is we move the girls, and I'll show you what they've done to their new pen while we were gone. Not happy about that. But I'm fixing to take down this pen, hopefully get this stuff mowed and worked up, and extend this garden area over to here. And maybe with that, we can have a good garden up here. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and plant it all this year or whatever I need to. And then after that, like I said, I'm going to tarp it and try to get this stuff knocked down where next year will be even better and a lot less weed pressure. Because so far, since they kept it worked up, it's not bad, but it's still not great. I had goals to plant tomatoes and stuff here, but then I realized it's only about 6 or 7 foot there, and so I really need more space than that for them. And so I'm going to go ahead and take this out, get all this worked up. I do have a spot that I've been working on down below. I'll show you. I don't know if it'll be on this video or another one, but I've got another spot I've been working on in the garden down below that's going to have the tomatoes and stuff. I'm doing them a little bit different this year. A little sneak peek of what we're going to be doing is on this trailer. Not all of it, but some of it. But we'll get into that later. I'm fixing to get this set up, start tearing this down. Like I said, we really appreciate y'all and hope you'll just stick around for the videos. I know it's not going to be the same because Kimberly's not going to be in any videos, most likely for a while, because like I said, she's been having a pretty rough time, and so it's just going to be me, a lot less camera movement because I'm going to have to be setting it up each time. So appreciate your patience for all that, and hopefully things just work out where she'll get well and back 100%, and we'll get things back to normal. My goal today was to get a lot more stuff planted and things like that, but the weather is calling in for some possible tornadoes in our area tonight and some hailstorms and stuff like that. And I'm just like, if I plant everything, we'll probably have bad storms or hail that would tear them up. If I hold off, it might get rained on and I'll have to wait a few days, but at least the plants will still be healthy. So I know that really has nothing to do with it, but it's just the way that I sometimes think is just like, if I do something, then yeah, that's probably when it's going to get messed up. So I would rather just wait, save my plants, and just be a few days late than put them all out and them get destroyed. But on these, like y'all knew before, we just use the electric fence wire to tie these together. So I've just got some cutters and I'm just cutting it and pull them off. Then we'll start pulling these panels down, because eventually my plan is to build an actual real pig pen somewhere for the pigs. Like I said, it's not going to be huge like we used to let them run loose in the pasture where they would tear it all up. I'm going to fix them a dedicated spot that's big enough for what they need, but also where I can separate Hulk from the girls when I need to, and build them like maybe like a permanent shelter that will stay where their pen is. Just going to have to play it by ear and see how that works out, but that's what the goal is. It's just going to take a little while to get there. But right now, my main goal is getting this tore down and getting this garden extended where I can actually have some more room up here where it's closer. So when Kimberly is able to get out and about and the girls, they can just come out here and harvest what they need to without having to go all the way down by the road. Pigs made such a mess of this back here. It's going to be a little bit of a task to get it cleaned up and smoothed up where it'll actually work. Those pigs have completely destroyed this feeder, and I didn't realize how bad it was until then, but there used to be a metal bar that ran across here. They broke it off. That's the part that's supposed to be on the inside, so I'm not sure how well this is going to work. It may work for some really small pigs, but I don't know about anything as big as they were. That's so buried up in that mud I can't even get out. I'm going to get the tractor and dig all this mess out real quick. Blizzard's going to stand here and supervise, aren't you, buddy? Okay, yeah, this thing's seen better days. Yuck, that's nasty. But yeah, that's supposed to be on the inside. I don't know if that's fixable or not, but we may take a look at it and give it a try. And like I said, just use it for smaller pigs in the future. Okay, I got my post puller. I'm fixing to pull all these posts up. I'm just going to stack them up over here because we're going to be putting up trellising for tomatoes and stuff here. And I'm just going to have to put them back in a different configuration. So no sense in hauling them off and putting them up anywhere till I know what I'm going to need. Got some visitors over here. Hey girls, what y'all doing? What y'all doing? Okay, so I just made a rookie mistake and somehow recorded all that last bit in slow motion. So I'm going to speed it up probably for the video, but that means there's not going to be any sound, which I don't know how much talking I was doing anyhow. But what I did is I went ahead and I picked up all the rocks that were on top of the ground before we got started. I had a pretty good little wagon full. I know I'm going to turn up more as I go, but at least that's a few less that I have to pick up later or try to find. But I got all the junk cleaned up here. Got it all tilled up once. We've got a storm coming in, so I wanted to get it tilled up once because us being up on this hill, this dries out pretty quick. So at least breaking the top up, it should soak in, and then I can work on tilling it deeper and getting these holes filled in because I'll have to bring dirt over this way to get these holes where the pigs dug. There's two different holes there. I'm going to get them filled in later. And so I'm thinking once the ground gets a little bit of rain on it, softens up, I can till it again, put the bucket on the tractor, push dirt around and get this where it looks pretty nice again. And then keep working it till it's really good. And then I'm going to get everything planted. So storm's rolling in. I got to go take care of animals and stuff. So I'll have to finish this project a little bit later. And since the storm's rolling in, I'm going to probably not be filming and just get the chores done really quick. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that the pigs had been a little bit of a problem. Well, this is what they've done. Y'all remember in the video before we left, we went around and put an electric line all the way around this. Well, they destroyed it not long after we left. Thankfully, they didn't get out, but I just don't know what the problem is, because I guess it wasn't hot enough, but they've pulled posts out of the ground, done all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So we had hoped that this would help keep them in, and I'm just thankful that they did stay in, but I don't know why they decided to tear all of this down. I mean, it's just a major mess. The girls and my mom had to get it cleaned out of here, and all that work was for nothing. We can still use the post and the little insulators somewhere else, and if we use them for cows or something that's not going to be trying to pull it up or anything, it'll probably work a lot better. So that wasn't a money waste there. We just had a little bit of wire, which we already owned. And with it being so hot, we've been having to keep them a nice little mud hole. I just cleaned this water out yesterday, and they got in it. I just sprayed it out today. I didn't get a brush or anything, so it's a little cloudy, but still pretty clean. I've got to get them a barrel made up, like a barrel water, like you've seen on some other channels, because I think that'll help keep their water cleaner for longer. But we've been trying to keep them this mud hole where they can come cool off in it, and they won't get in their water trough as much, but they don't really care. They would just soon get in both of them, and it's just been a major mess. So I want to get that done to get that fixed. But I also wanted to tell a little story about what happened on our way home. So have you ever sat back and thought about how the smallest decisions we make sometimes have the biggest impact on our life, or can completely change the path we're going in, the direction we're going in life? Well, that's what I wanted to kind of tell you about. As y'all know, we'd been in Baltimore for a couple of weeks. It'd been pretty stressful dealing with the hospitals, just worrying about the surgery and how things were going to go on and everything that goes with that. And the little decision we made to change our flights, go to a completely different airport, it's just crazy. And a lot of times people just contribute this to chance and just that's the way things happen, but maybe it's something more. So this is what happens. As y'all know, we changed the date that we were flying home because we switched airports because we found a direct flight back to Little Rock. So this airport's about an hour away from where we were at, and we go there and we get our tickets and all that, get to the airport lounge at the gate that we're supposed to be at. And we're sitting there, and I look across the lounge, and I had to kind of do a double take because I saw a familiar face. I was like, what in the world? So I go up, and it just so happens that I run into a guy that I've known for years. That happens to be a friend. Like I said, not close friends where we talk all the time, but I mean, we've known each other for years and keep up on Facebook periodically. And we just got to talking. He's like, hey, what are you doing up here? He was up there for work. And I was like, yeah, Kimberly had surgery, and was explaining all that we'd gone through with that, how the failed stuff in Arkansas, and we searched out farther and finally found someone farther away in Baltimore that would be able to hopefully take care of things. And we just got to discussing about the money situation, how at the time we'd kind of given up, or Kimberly kind of given up, because she was worried it was going to cost too much for us to go out of state, and how it all worked out where our insurance actually covered as in-network, and so our cost on that was a lot lower than what we were initially expecting. And he got to talking about how the different things he'd been through with his wife, and how a lot of times we have to be an advocate for our other family members and things like that, and try to get them to get the care they need and make sure that they have a voice when they're not willing to speak up themselves. And then we kept talking, like I said, just a little small talk and all, and then we got on the point of, he's like, did you see where I'd lost my job last year? I was like, yeah, I actually saw a deal on Facebook where you'd posted about it, but I was like, I didn't know a whole lot about it. And he just kind of explained, just a real quick snippet on that, was that he got an email, pretty much told him your services no longer needed, no explanation or anything like that. He was really stressed about it at first because he's like, what in the world have I done? He talked to his wife, and I told her that it'd been a really stressful day at work, but he would wait till he got home to talk about it. He stayed really late trying to get answers to maybe it was a mistake, and he got confirmation, no, you really have been terminated. So he goes home, talks to his wife, and then they just cannot figure out what in the world's going on. And they stay up for a while talking, then he lays down. It just so happens when he started his Bible app in January, was like, hey, do you want to read the Bible in chronological order this year? So he's like, sure, let's do that. Well, it just so happened that the part he was on at that point was the account of Job. And for those of y'all, many of y'all are probably familiar. If you're not, Job had everything, wealth, good farmland, good health, family, and all that. and Satan decided to come in and wanted to test his faith, and God allowed that to happen, and he said that you can pretty much do anything, but you have to spare his life. So it all came about that he took away his wealth, family, and all that, and even his health at the end, trying to test his faith to see if he would still be faithful. And so even with all that bad stuff that happened to him, he stayed faithful to God. So he was telling me that just so happened he got to reading that, and as he got to continue thinking about that, the stress just went away, because he was like, God has a plan. And so even if it wasn't meant for him to keep that job, that something else would come along, but he didn't want to jump too quick just out of the stress of worrying about being the provider for his family and take something that he shouldn't. So he's like, he's going to take his time and just make sure that he does what he's supposed to do. But he had a good feeling about it, that things were going to work out the way they were supposed to be. So it turns out the next day he gets a phone call. It was a complete mistake on him losing his job. There was an oversight on some people, and they were given information to terminate some employees, and somehow he got bulked into that, and it actually wasn't supposed to happen, and he was reinstated into his job. And so we just got to talking about how it's so easy whenever things are going well to thank God for all the blessings and stuff we have, and then it's whenever it gets bad, we kind of lose sight of all the good that does happen. We're like, why me? Why did this happen to me? And so we just get to thinking, whenever it's good, we sometimes forget to be thankful for the things we do have, because we only tend to focus on the negative stuff a lot of the time. And that's what got us talking about marriages and things like that. And like I said, he'd talked about all the stuff he'd been through with his wife and all. And then they've been married about 10 years longer than Kimberly and I. And then we just got on the thing, which he was mentioning, that was admirable, that the two of us had worked so hard to find a solution. We're sticking through it. And sometimes you want to get discouraged, because you're like, why is this happening to me? Especially when you see a family member suffering. It's really hard to sit there and watch somebody suffering, knowing there's nothing you can do. And that's what I told him whenever initially she'd given up on trying to look out. I was like, it got to the point that we'd exhausted all the means we thought possible in Arkansas, and she had pretty much given up because we didn't think it would be possible out. And I was finally like, I don't care what it costs or what we got to do. I was like, start looking elsewhere. We're going to figure out something. I was like, and when the time comes, we will figure out how to get it taken care of. But I was like, nobody deserves to live in pain like this all the time. And so that's how we looked out. And like I said, eventually it was a little scary at first when we started getting some of those estimates, but it worked out in the end where it was manageable. Like I said, it was something that we could do, and it wasn't near as bad as what we thought it was going to be. And then, like I said, continuing on, we were talking about how so many people, whenever things get tough like that, or relationships, they just end it. I mean, over silly stuff. I mean, whether it's over health, money, or things like that. I mean, just look at the divorce rate in the world today and what it is. And people, when they take those vows on their wedding day, are not really meaning what they're saying. Or maybe they think they do at the time, because like I said, when things are going really well, it is super easy to see the good in stuff and to feel how blessed you are. But what's really hard is when you have some challenges, or some things go bad, or differently than how you want them, to see the good in that. And that's really why, like I said, I'm kind of rambling on, but I just want y'all to know to look for the good in stuff. We talked, like I said, a little bit while before we left DC area, and then again when we got in Arkansas, we was waiting on our luggage, we were talking some more, and like I said, it just continued on, that it's crazy how many people are not willing to stick out the hard times and just want to look for the good, and just lose sight of that. And even when bad things happen, we have to keep sight of the goal and look for the good times and try to find the best in all. It may be hard times, and the thing is nothing's going to put on you that you can't handle. And at the time, we may not understand why it happened or what's going on with it, but there is a reason. Similar things can go along with social media. It's easy to look at other people who are doing similar things to you and how good things are working out for them, and you may not be getting the results you want, but the thing is, you just got to keep working at it and keep trying, because eventually, if it's meant to be, your time will come. And like I said, for us, we've done that before too. We've tried to get away from it, but it's hard not to look at the numbers. And so then I just got to thinking, I was like, us making the decision to change our flights in airport, we ran into him, and it's almost like God knew that I needed that little boost right then of talking. Like I said, he doesn't realize the impact our talk had on me. And I don't know if mine had one on him the same, but it's just crazy that how one simple change like that, we ran into him, and I felt really good talking to him, and I mean, had a peace about things. Because like I said, we just got to talking about all that went on, and it was just a really good thing. And so that's where I want to come to y'all and be like, y'all may be having that same impact on somebody too and don't even realize it. And that's what we're trying to figure out too on us, is instead of looking for the big numbers and all that, we want to focus more on, are we touching the ones who are watching us? Because that's the thing. Y'all have been with us through this journey from almost basically start to finish on Kimberly's deal. Like I said, whenever she had her first surgery, that was one of our biggest bumps, is after that surgery. Many of y'all have been with us along the way for that, and all of y'all's prayers, thoughts, comments have been really great, and they've helped us through a lot of times. It's easy to get lost in the bad, but then, like I said, we can go to the comments on those, and just seeing all of y'all that are praying for us and thinking about and asking about Kimberly, it gives us a little boost that we need to keep on going. And like I said, the main thing now is that we just want to make sure that the message that we're giving out reflects who we are, and is trying to make it a positive thing. I know with social media, I mean, titles, thumbnails, in order to get new people, you sometimes have to make them somewhat, I'll just say, catchy. That's the easy way. I know that some people would use another term, but as long as you're giving the message you're putting off, that's the main thing to where it's doing. But you have to make it catchy or spin it in a light that will make people be like, huh, I want to see what's going on with that. And so that's where that comes in. And so even though we do show bad stuff that happens too, and we talk about that, we really just want this channel to be a feel-good channel, and to let y'all see what's going on with us. One thing that everybody warns about when you get into social media is stay away from religion and politics. And I'll agree with the politics part, but I think sometimes we may not focus enough on the religion part, because I mean, we're Christians, and we hope that comes to our videos, but maybe we're not talking about it enough. Now, I'm not saying cram stuff down people's throats, because that's definitely not the way that you show Jesus and God's love, is by cramming stuff down people's throats. But hopefully through our examples and the things we do, it might lead somebody to open up and be willing to give things a try and see how it is, and maybe it'll bring them to Christ. So that we just want to make sure that we are being good examples of Christ to y'all, and that we're doing everything that we should to bring that. So like I said, and the other thing is, we want y'all to feel good watching our videos. Like I said, even if it's bad, we're going to try to find the light at the end of the tunnel and show the good side of things. Because like I said, we don't always understand it to begin with, because even in those bad times, there are still blessings out there that we have to remember and not forget about. And like I said, things go in a cycle, and yeah, you'll have some bad, but eventually there'll be good days too. And so we just want to be that good example for y'all, and to hopefully make y'all feel better and be the little boost y'all need, like he was for me that day. Because like I said, for just those few moments we were able to talk, all the stresses and everything of everything that's been going on, it just completely went away. Even if it was just for a little bit, it was very nice. And so that's what we want to be for y'all, and we would like for y'all to be that for other people too. But with that, like I said, I've got a little bit of foreshadowing in the background of a future video. But that's going to be where we end it for today. We appreciate you watching. We thank you for all the prayers, thoughts, and comments for Kimberly. She's still in a lot of pain, but she is getting there, and we are hoping that this will be the answer we needed. Like I said, it's been a long journey, but we think we're on the right track, and we appreciate y'all coming along with us. But we'll catch you next time on Grant's Family Farm. Bye.